This is Warhammer 40k Boltgun. It's something a little bit more special. If anybody knows me, they know that I love the Warhammer universe, especially 40,000. We've had Space Marine back in 2011, and we have Space Marine 2 coming up, with Dark Tide releasing earlier last year as well, with being a 4-player co-op shooter set in 40k. Well, it seems like we're on a rise. This has to be the golden age, right? And Boltgun is only adding to it. Releasing about a month or so ago now, it has become very, very successful very, very fast for a very, very specific reason. Blood, gore, Warhammer, what more could you want? Set with a beautiful stylized 8-bit graphics setting, it really harks back to those old Wolfenstein Doom games, but with the added aesthetic, I guess, of being modern day. Sorry, I'm just trying to explain what this game is while slicing through many, many enemies here. And of course, tons of collectibles. Always tons of collectibles. So, heading into the next room, we get a little bit of a look at the level design. The level design is probably its weakest point, if I'm going to be honest. But also, I really like how everything sort of turns to face you when you move around it, giving this almost illusion of 3D, even though it kind of is trying to go for that 2D aesthetic. Most of the gunplay is quite fun. I've not played with too many of the weapons just yet, but of course, having my regular bolt gun is beautiful. The sound design is phenomenal. That's definitely not a word. But also the grenades, the explosions are beastly. And you're going to need them quite a lot, because especially when you get to more of the higher level stuff, you will see some Chaos Space Marines in a little bit. They're really going to need some of those higher level grenades and some weapons that hopefully we can find a little bit later on. Now, this is my biggest gripe. The map design isn't that good. And that might be a controversial statement, because all I've heard is positive stuff about Boltgun. But some of the time, it doesn't make any sense. I've been lost countless times in Boltgun, not quite knowing where to go, not quite knowing what to do, and in fact, I kind of end a lot of my playthroughs with just at the point where I don't know where else I should go. It is a little bit confusing, and they didn't really seem to think about it that much. It's not just bad though, it's kind of awful, and it does take away a lot from the game. I have seen some comments talking about it, but as mentioned, I think most people are very positive about this title, and that's for some good reasons. 1, it looks beautiful. 2, the gore is on point. The gunplay is fantastic, and when you get in close with a chainsword, oh my god, is it satisfying. Also, do you see what I mean here with the map design? Like, where am I supposed to be going here? Hello? Guys? What's happening? At least I get to try some fun parkour though, yeah? Okay, well, I think I've managed to find exactly where I'm going now. It took about 10 minutes of walking around, kind of just following where the enemies are. But this is something that I'm going to be coming up quite a lot. Ooh. Nice. So many collectibles, so much ammo. It does really take the inspiration, at least from modern Doom as well, where they just want that constant death, explosions, blood. There's a never end to the gore. You're going to be constantly finding things to pick up, different ways to kill people, and all the collectibles. Let's test out some of these grenades here. I think that should have done the job. Yep, he is now just a blood splatter on the floor. It is very satisfying to see the blood coating every little bit. This is our little friend, by the way. He gives you kind of advice and tells you what to do. Other than that, he's not actually that useful. I always try and shoot him, but there's actually not much you can really do with him other than just listen to him waffle on constantly. Right, let's head through this door. Oh god. So this is where we see our first Chaos Space Marine. These guys are pretty beefy. However, it does take maybe 1 or 2 grenades to take them down and a few shots. They're not too tricky, at least at this stage of the game, but as we get onto a little bit, there does get to points where you get 2, 3, 4 Chaos Space Marines in a room, and that's when it's really tough. These guys are on their own, not too bad though. Let's pick up some of his juices. Beautiful. I always walk over ammo, just in case I need 1 extra bullet. I never do, but hey, you never know. Another Chaos Space Marine, a few other guys as well to take out. Yeah, that's all right. See, with your bolt gun, you can do a decent amount of damage, but I think grenades is the best way to take these guys out, at least if you're trying to do it quickly. Oh, there's a cave in here as well. That's cool. But most of the enemies that you'll find, unless they're bosses or champions, are pretty much 1-2 shots. So you can kind of do some really fast flowing, cool parkour kills, as you can see. Jumping every which way, shooting as you go along. Can I get in here? Yep, I can. Door be open. Okay, it's going to start to get a little bit rough. We've got 2 Chaos Space Marines, a few more champions as well. Luckily, you do seem to have quite a bit of health. The game does feel kind of easy. In fact, I think that almost emphasizes the bad map design in itself, because most of the time, as mentioned, I'm getting stuck and I can't continue because I don't know which way to go, not because of the hard enemies. Also, I don't know if you saw that, but the way that guy died was so cool. They do have really cool, I guess, 3 to 5 FPS dying animations, which you can only really see if you stick around and pay close attention, but it's a nice little touch. You see, whilst the game feels very free and flowing, and it does feel like a modern day shooter, just the movement systems and the gunplay, everything else from the animations with reloading to the enemies to their deaths does still hark back to those old retro titles, which I think is done in the most beautiful way. And I don't think it could have been done any more aesthetically than this. Right, where are we going now? Okay, well, I guess down here. There does seem to be some more enemies on the right. Okay, well, let's go and deal with them first. I do generally just follow the enemies. Oh, wow. Okay, there is a lot of guys here. Luckily, we're able to kind of just skirt through them pretty fast. A couple grenades there for the Chaos Space Marines. Why not? Just in case they need to be dealt with. They do have cover. It's not really going to help them that much. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this, going up close with your chainsword. It doesn't exactly do the most damage, and it does mean that the Chaos Space Marines are able to get a lot of hits on you. I think that's probably the only times that I came close to dying throughout most of my playthrough of this, was when I just got a little bit too cocky, a little bit too up and close. But other than that, I'm able to swipe through most of these guys pretty fast. I don't really know about the despawning of blood and guts, but you can see every now and then, if there's some blood or something on the wall, it will start to drip off in the most satisfying way possible. Oh, there was a few intestines flying through the air. What more could you want? Overall, I think this game is done so aesthetically well. I think they've done a fantastic job of bringing in the 40k universe, but harking back to the best of the retro titles. And I've always wanted something kind of similar to this. Whether there is a lot more content, I'm not quite sure. I've played maybe half the game so far. These are one of the earlier levels, by the way, in case anybody was wondering. But looking at some of the Steam reviews, it tells an interesting story. As mentioned, it is mostly positive on Steam. Actually, it is very positive on Steam. And most people have quite a few hours. Yet, something tells me that there is some sort of a theme going on. Everybody is talking about the great aesthetic, the amazing retro look, the fast-paced FPS gameplay, and, of course, a great overall experience. But people keep bringing up things like the map design. They also keep bringing up some repetitive natures, and later on down in the game, there isn't too much variation in the title. Doing the same thing over and over again, it feels like we're going through the motions. We're going into a map, picking up collectibles, killing enemies, completing a mission. And that is the style of the title, and I guess that was all they were going for here, trying to do an old school FPS. But there is a reason that it is an old school FPS, because that kind of game design doesn't work too well in the modern day. People want a good story to be told. They want more variation in maps and less repetitive natures within their gameplay. Yet whilst Warhammer 40k Space Marine doesn't necessarily do that, what it does offer is a solid game loop at the start. Being $18.99 or just over $20, it is a little bit pricey, maybe for what it is. I think maybe £15 would be a better price for something that kind of feels the same the whole way through the game, at least from what most people are exploring. But there are bigger bosses later on, so I guess that's just down to you. Would I recommend it? I think if you're into Warhammer 40k, if you're into FPS games, you're going to get a lot out of this. Obviously, if you don't care about either of those things, why are you even watching this video?